Welcome back to another Okie Doke book review. You might be wondering what I've been reading lately. Well, as a matter of fact, I've been reading a few things. I've just started the second in the series of the Monkey Wrench series by PJ Tracy. Live Bait, I've just started that. I was intrigued to see how the group of people would move on to a second book. I reviewed the first book called Want to Play in a previous video. So that'll be interesting. But what have I been reading? Well, 3 books I read recently was Sarah Paretsky's Fallout. That's about 430 odd pages long. It's another one of the V.I. Warshawski detective series. This time, let's see, she gets taken back to a outback town, pretty small town where everybody knows everybody. And she's engaged by some people that want her to find a missing guy. In fact, the guy's gone missing with another female. She traces him to this town and bodies start turning up. Of course, that's typical of her. She uncovers a government silo that used to have sort of nuclear sort of testing and that going on, chemical warfare and all that sort of stuff. And it all eventually gets exposed, and much to the chagrin of the government and the army and all that sort of stuff. There's some mystery about who some of the people are and how they're connected to some of the villages there, and people are scared to know the truth and don't want to know the truth and are hiding secrets, and there's quite a few secrets going on, and VI slowly, strategically works it all out, and people don't like her because of it, and some people really like her because of it. She nearly gets killed, which is typical of her. She gets in some pretty serious sort of situations in most of her stories, and this isn't any different. So she is pretty close to losing her life in this one, but she comes out of course, otherwise there wouldn't be any more in the series. It's a pretty good read. Again, I credit Sarah Paretsky with another good book. I gave it, I think, about an 8 out of 10. So I'm pretty happy with that one. The one I read after Sarah was another Minette Walters book. It's a standalone book, The Echo, which it says here that it's a major BBC TV series. I've never seen it. I don't know how many episodes there are, or how many seasons there was or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, this is the story. Again, Minette has a good way of developing characters. So a woman finds a dead vagrant in her garage. Initially, she's got no idea who he is, and then she's got a suspicion and wonders if it might be her husband that went missing years ago. So the police are a little bit baffled. A journalist starts getting involved and starts digging deeper and trying to nut out the story of who this guy was and why the lady has ended up paying for this guy's funeral. There must be more to it. So the journalist gets involved with the vagrants and finds some information from them, or tries to. And one of the young fellas that's there, one of the homeless guys, he's pretty young. He's escaped a not a very nice foster parent sort of situation, and is living on the streets. And he's pretty smart to live on the streets, put it that way. Anyway, the journalists end up befriending him and they become a bit of a team. Another guy that works at the journalist's office, who's into photography and all this sort of stuff, he discovers a likeness of the dead man to the missing person from years ago. And this story covers a couple of missing persons in the beginning of the book. It talks about some missing people. And this guy, the photographer guy, he's got some issues. Everybody seems to have issues in this story. The journalist has got issues with his family. The lady that found the body's got issues. The young fella's got issues. Everybody's got issues. So they're all trying to work through those through this story. And they sort of come together as a team. And of course, the journalist, he has a bit of a thing for the woman. But is it going to take? Is it not going to take? I'm not going to spoil that. But it's another really well-written story by Minette Walters, and it kept me going. It was a real page-turner. I couldn't put it down. Pretty much give this a 9 out of 10. Very good book by Minette Walters. And the third one I read before starting Live Bait was another Anne Tyler book. Not a long book. It's only about 250 pages. Again, Anne Tyler has a way of developing her characters and causing them to cause you different emotions about them. So I got aggravated by a few of the people in this book. But they're just people. They're human beings, and everyone's got these sort of personality traits. She just writes the story so well. It's another one of those family ones where not a lot really happens in the book. Well, it does. There is a bit of a story. But it's not like drama from one scenario to another scenario and another scene. It mainly revolves around the house that the matriarch, Mrs. Emerson, lives. And young girl Elizabeth ends up working for her. And Elizabeth's got issues. She's left home of quite religious parents to try to find herself and see what she's going to do with herself. And anyway, she ends up working for Mrs. Emerson as a handy woman, handy person. In the end, Mrs. Emerson really connects with her. But Elizabeth, she's just so sick and tired of this family. They've got all sorts of issues themselves. There's a suicide that happens, and lust, and a real sort of stalkerish sort of sensation towards Elizabeth by another brother. Where's that going to go? I don't want to spoil that for you. But Elizabeth's got to get out of there, and so she eventually does. And the family, they're trying to reconnect. They've got all sorts of weird things going on between each other. They've got some problems. That's for sure. And the book goes along pretty well. As I said, it's only 254 pages. It goes along nicely. Like, I've loved all of Anne Tyler's books so far. But I must say that the ending of this, the last chapter or two, I think it was, I sort of suddenly felt I was reading a different book, sort of. And I thought, oh, okay, hang on. We're going to resolve the issues that have been happening throughout this book. It said the book was coming to an end, and I was wondering how they were going to work this out, or how Anne Tyler was going to resolve this. It's an interesting sort of ending, not puzzling. I mean, it sort of does have its own sort of ending. But I don't know, for me, whether it satisfied me. It might satisfy you. But anyway, I sort of felt, not let down, but I guess I just thought there was going to be more out of it at the end. It is a finish. It's a finish of sorts. But I guess I was just hoping for something a bit more substantial and a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit more of a solid ending. And this didn't leave me feeling that it was resolved. But still, a good book, and I found it hard to put this down too. So another good Anne Tyler standalone book, and I'm certainly going to read more of hers. I've got more to buy of hers. I'll be reading more Minette Walters, and I'll be reading more Sarah Paretsky. But I am looking forward to going through Live Bait at the moment, so once I finish that one, I might review that one and see how that's moved on from the first part, which will be interesting to see how they do that. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this review. I know it's a few books in one shot. They're all good. I like them all, and I'll recommend them all. So if you're looking for something to read, get one of them. See you next time.